Hello everyone, welcome in today. This is LDJ11 Gaming and I'm bringing you into a quick update episode. We're going to look at stats, we're going to talk storylines, we're going to kind of get you a little bit of information from around this dynasty. Usually I try to keep these episodes a little bit shorter. I just want to show off some stats, show off some different things. The only thing I won't do is show off recruiting because at the end of the season I'm going to do a National Signing Day episode when we see the guys choose their team, and I'll show you the top three and they'll get their hats and all that good stuff. So we'll go from there. But first thing we're going to do is take a look at some of our players and we're going to go through and talk about them. We have Forrest Farmer, our starting quarterback. He's been fantastic. He has 23 touchdowns to 3 picks. He had 6 touchdowns on the ground and almost 300 yards. He's been fantastic. He's everything we've been looking for. He's our lockdown starter. You know, the biggest thing with him is you got to worry about his upside. He's up to an 86 overall, but the question is how much higher can he get because he's already at 98 awareness. Backup quarterback Tyler Mattingly, here's kind of our first storyline. He's grown a little frustrated. He's only gotten 5 pass attempts all season, and he's thrown for 1 touchdown. He understood when he came here. Coach Kent Williams was upfront and honest and said, "You're not guaranteed to be the starter." But what's frustrating him is he's just not getting any opportunities to play. So he is considering transferring away from the Bulls and seeing what else is out there. We're not sure. It's just rumors we've been hearing that Mattingly might enter his name to the portal. Josh Taylor, he's definitely going to enter his name into the portal. He already told Coach Kent Williams that he'll stick on the team this season. He'll ride the pine if they get him some playing time. He'll take it. He's not going to walk away from his teammates, but he's definitely looking for another opportunity at the end of this season. Looking at the running backs, Dylan Johannesson, he leads the way, 51 carries, 265 yards. He's averaging 5.2 yards a carry, and he only has 1 rushing touchdown. He's been kind of disappointing if we're being honest. Sonny Godfrey, who is technically supposed to be our second back, has 72 carries for 385 yards and 7 scores. He's averaging about 5.3 yards a rush. For him, he's a power back. That's a little bit more acceptable than, like I said, Johannesson, who you expect more speed and big plays out of. Nick Smith's checked in. He's averaging 9.7 yards per carry. He's our third string running back. He's going to be a part of this rotation. They're all seniors, so it don't matter. They're all likely just they're going to leave, and you may not ever see them again after this season. At fullback, Bryce Spate's he's been okay. He ain't done much. He hasn't had a rush. He caught 3 passes for 22 yards so far this season. At wide receiver, TJ Nunnery has 26 catches for 301 yards and 6 scores. The only complaint I have about him is the 9 drop passes. He's really developing into kind of a big player for us as a freshman. Colbert Hicks, who transferred in from Arkansas, has 35 catches, 542 yards, and 8 scores. Impressive and good, but once again, he has 9 drop passes, so that's a frustrating thing. Brendan Perkins, 31, 482, and 5. The good thing about him is he only has 7 drop passes, which still isn't good, but it's best on the team so far. Now, as we look down at this depth chart a little bit, some of these lower guys may be looking for opportunities elsewhere. Keemon Williams, word has it, isn't happy with the fact that he fell to number 4 and his targets just haven't really been there, even though he's averaging about the same yards per game. He's frustrated that he's not out there playing more. He said, "Look at what I'm doing, and I'm playing less. If you'd play me more, I'd do more." So there's a good chance we might lose Keemon in the offseason. Dontrell White's another guy that might look to transfer. He's not that great, though, so he may just kind of bide his time and maybe leave later in his career as a grad transfer. Tight end Dalton Alexander really hasn't done that much for us. He's unimpressive. He has 4 drops. I just haven't done a good job getting the tight end incorporated, and he just doesn't seem to do good when I try. Along the O-line, as we're looking through, there's nothing too crazy. We don't expect to lose anybody really here, but Riley Kern's been our starting right tackle. He's been okay. Jay Wolford really did want a chance to start, but he just couldn't take the job away from the younger guy. On the D-line, Afitu Adkins has been fantastic for us, everything we could look for. 3 sacks, 14 tackles, 5 TFLs, and a forced fumble. You look at Osherman, he has 19 tackles, 9 TFLs. He doesn't have any sacks, which is the surprising and frustrating thing. We really want to see him get to the quarterback. Aside from that, we don't expect to lose too much depth along D-line. Nobody here is spectacular. Nobody here is really that great. So we don't expect to see any transfers. Now at D-tackle, same idea. We don't expect anybody to leave the team. Christian Smallwood's having himself kind of a quiet season. 9 with a sack. You look at Zaire, he has 6 and 2 sacks, which is a little bit more in line with his freshman season before Coach Williams took over. So we'll see what he can do, and maybe he can keep getting some pressures and earn himself a better opportunity for us. At linebacker, Trevor Snyder's been our starter. He's been okay, 19 tackles, 4 TFLs. He's been kind of solid. He's that third linebacker, though. he does not play as much as everybody else. In the middle, McGowan's been phenomenal. 44 tackles, 13 TFLs, an interception. He doesn't have any sacks, which is okay, but he's been phenomenal for us. Janarvis Lewis, our number 2 middle linebacker, who was somebody we were excited to try to use in this dynasty, may look to transfer in the offseason. He has 9 tackles, but he just hasn't been getting on the field, and we can hear frustrations mounting based on what information we get. Now, Isaiah Braithwaite Jr. has 20 tackles, 5 TFLs, a sack, a pass deflection, a forced fumble. He's been pretty much everything you could expect him to be, being a top recruit in the nation. So we'll take that, and we're happy with what he has been able to provide to the team. Chris Mitchell at corner has actually been really good. He gets burned on occasion, but he earned himself a lot of respect from his teammates. He's been fantastic. He has 19 tackles, 3 TFLs, an interception, and a pass deflection. Teams seem to mostly avoid him, though, so he does a pretty good job. Jeremiah Ingram, our number 2 corner this year, has 2 picks, 16 tackles, and a pass deflection. We'll take that. He's been solid on the outside. Kealani in the slot's been honestly a little quieter this year when it comes to the big plays, but he's been making tackles, getting 5 TFLs. He has 1 sack instead of 3, and he has a pass deflection this year. He's been pretty solid in the slot. Josh Thomas has been everything you could hope for from a freshman starter. He's got 48 tackles, 5 TFLs, a QB sack, an interception, 2 deflections. I mean, this man's been all over the field. I wouldn't be shocked if he's a freshman All-American. And then Weisher at strong safety, 51 tackles, 10 TFLs, a sack, an interception, a defensive touchdown, a pass deflection. Same idea. He's been all over the field. And if he can keep this together and get himself an All-American bid, he may just leave for the NFL draft after his junior season. And really, that's it for our team. I mean, you look through. But the big news coming out of this is that we have 2 quarterbacks that may transfer. For sure, Josh Taylor is going to transfer. Tyler Mattingly is getting frustrated, and he's been in the coach's office recently, according to reports, telling him that if they don't get him on the field, he just can't stay here because he's competing with another freshman quarterback. So the Bulls got to be careful with how they handle Tyler Mattingly. And the same idea here with Keemon Williams. He's pretty frustrated that he hasn't been getting any opportunities. And honestly, Nick Hill's another one that we haven't heard much about making any complaints, but I wouldn't be shocked if maybe he surprises some people and leaves. He realizes that once again, he's behind 3 freshman players, so how many opportunities is he going to get? And they're not giving him much of a chance this season. So those are some sneaky guys who may decide to transfer away. Now taking a look at Coach Kent Williams, he has an 11-8 career record, 0-2 versus top 25. But the big thing here that's a little bit shocking is reports are teams are interested and might bring him in for some interviews in the offseason to possibly move up and take another job at a higher level. He's been doing such a great job with the Bulls. He took them from 5-7 last year to he's already 6-1 with them this year. His recruiting's been well above the mark of what anybody could have expected. He didn't reel in top class in the MAC like we all thought that he would. But this season, he's got his name in there with some big players, as I've been showing off. So if he can reel them in, they may just have a top 10 class in the nation, which could be enough to get Coach Kent Williams out of Buffalo and maybe to a bigger school. We'll have to see what happens, though. Next thing we're going to do is take a look at Penn State. I just want to show off the stats of Justin Hill. However, as you can see, they lost their senior all-pro, or future all-pro quarterback in Killian Howard for the season. It was a big loss. So they have a pretty good backup, but Trey Marks seems to have been struggling a little bit as starter. And Justin Hill, his stats are solid, but not spectacular this season. He has 556 yards, 5 yards a carry, and 4 scores. He did miss some time with injuries that have slowed him down a little bit, so we'll have to see. Hopefully he can open it up and finish strong and produce for the Penn State Nittany Lions, as they are fighting for bowl eligibility right now. So it's pretty big for him to have a strong second half and help this team push forward into the future. At SMU, QB Tyler Smith, who left the Bulls, has actually had a pretty strong season. He has 7 touchdowns, no picks. 45% completion percentage isn't great, but kind of expected out of him. He's actually been surprisingly good for them. However, as you can see, his stats are a little lower than you'd expect. And the reason for that is they're just running the ball because, as you can see, their backup quarterbacks really haven't played. So he's been effective. They're not throwing it a lot. They realize that if they try to throw it a lot, that's probably not going to work with Tyler Smith. So they've been able to mask some of his ugliness that he had in Buffalo. So he's having a pretty good season. We're happy for him. We wish him the best there at SMU as he finishes out his career. As we look around the NCAA, Dimitri Oliver of Southern Miss leads the way with 2,400 passing yards, almost 25, followed by Blake Powell of Stanford, Jonah Wayman of ULM, Matt Finkenberg of Arkansas State, Mike Garner of ODU, Terrell Bowden of Arkansas, Cam Albright of Florida State, Joseph Hubenek of Vanderbilt, and then Forrest Farmer right here of Buffalo, and then Drake Winkle of Marshall. Now, if you look through here, you're going to see you have Farmer, Albright, Garner, Finkenberg, Wayman are all true freshmen. That's 5 true freshman quarterbacks having a fantastic season. How impressive is that? Albright leads with 26 touchdowns, followed by Aaron Sullivan, Joe Vogel, another true freshman at Notre Dame, Bowden, Oliver, Racavius Seals, a true freshman from USC, Katie Campbell, a true freshman of Pittsburgh, Forrest Farmer, Blake Powell, Brady Roberson. It's just been a year for quarterbacks. True freshmen are dominating the nation right now. It's quite impressive. You don't see that very often. Running the ball, you got Paris James of Oregon leading the way. He has 11 touchdowns, almost 1,200 yards, which is quite impressive. And you got Kalen Fitzpatrick, CJ Neesman, a true freshman at Georgia, Lakia Reed, Payne Agumo, Denzel Smith, Bobby Walton, a freshman at Rutgers, Devin Rayner at Ohio State, Mike Oliver, and then Jeremiah Allen of Rutgers. So as you can see, Rutgers has 2 of the top rushers in the nation between Bobby Walton and Jeremiah Allen. That's quite impressive. And Allen's definitely the power, while Walton's a little bit more of the speed guy. Catches-wise, they have a tight end, Castro Fields of ULM, leading the way, followed by Clay Lackey, Jared Palmer, Ed Foreman. Look at him leading the way again. He's having another fantastic season, following up his strong freshman campaign. Curtis Rogers, a tight end. Trayvon Liggins of Central Michigan. Now, we've seen him have a pretty good day against us. He's been good. Damon Conte, Deuce Myers, Marquise Nelson, and Anthony Fells. Looking at yards, it's Foreman leading the way, followed by Jared Palmer, Lackey, Nelson, Deuce Myers, Josiah Bonner, Wyke Thomas, a tight end. Trayvon Liggins, I told you he's having himself a strong year. Curtis Rogers and Tracy Lucas at UAB. Just looking at touchdowns, it's Jared Palmer with 17. That's kind of ridiculous. He's having a pretty darn good junior season, followed by Javante Crayer with 12, 11 for Marcus Lynch, a senior at Notre Dame. Javari Williams of Alabama, Malik Cottom of Rice, and Dylan Brantley of Stanford, followed by Giovanni Olanayan out of USC, Liggins, Pointer, and Colbert Hicks is up there in the top 10 for receiving touchdowns. That's pretty good. Defensively, tackles are not quite as high as normal for the Bulls. Normally, they're kind of leading the way. But they're down there a little bit this season, probably because they're playing a little bit better, honestly. So let's take a look at top. It's Alex Redmond, Gordioner, Lewis, Barton, Harrison, Williams, Taylor, Ware, Johnson Jr., and Willie James. Now looking at TFLs, 18 for Gornier, Hines, Philip Green, Devontae Bickley, having another strong season. So this right here, we're going to scroll through and just show some of the top guys. Now sacks, the leader in nations, Philip Green. He's tied with David Walsh. Now, the thing is about Walsh, he lacks length, so he probably won't have a high draft stock, but he's having pretty good production in college. Dwayne Hall, Bickley's on there again. I mean, you can see some of these top players as we scroll through and just see how everybody's doing. 4 picks leads the way across the nation as it's Facyson, Wentz, Ware, Branch, Harris again, Bolden, Stringer. So we're just going to scroll through and show you some of the top guys as far as interceptions go. Next thing we're going to do is just show off some of the quarterback injuries from around the nation. I like to kind of let everybody see what's happening, see who's possibly missing some difference makers here. As, like I said, Killian Howard, torn shoulder, out for the season. That's a big loss. And, I mean, you can see, like, Manoa transferred to Boston College as a senior, and now he's basically missed the entire season due to injury. That's kind of sad when you think about it. You look at a big guy here like Josh Robinson, who was fantastic last year for Georgia. As a junior, he got hurt, missed most of the season, so that's kind of a step back. Jamari Palmer gets his chance to start by transferring, and he gets hurt. It's just, that's some of the quarterback stuff. That's a little bit surprising and, sometimes disheartening when you look at some of these injuries and how they can shape a season. but I just wanted to show it off a little bit here in this episode. The last thing I want to do is show off players of the week and just kind of include that in this episode. Josh Blair and Terrell Bowden were week 1. Week 2 went to Zach Gant and Zane Meldove of Eastern Michigan, Blake Powell and J.R. Fisher. You can see we're just kind of scrolling through, showing them off. So far, we haven't had any until right here when Forrest Farmer beat the heck out of Central Michigan in that overtime game. He earned that Player of the Week award right here in Week 7. And other than that, we didn't have any Players of the Week other than that 1 week from Forrest Farmer. And you can see some of the transfer guys that have had some success, like Mickey Mitty got a Player of the Week award here last week in his game against Wake Forest. Now, if we flip it over and look just at our conference here in the MAC, we didn't have anybody week 1. Week 2 went to Fertney and Maldevo. Peg Lampkin and Forrest Farmer took it in week 3 against Clemson. Ty Curry, Leon Benson was phenomenal when we played him, and he had it here against ECU. Fertney and Hunt, Kentrell Washington, and then Forrest Farmer in week 6 against Toledo. Against Central Michigan, as you'd expect, it was Forrest Farmer. That's really it. We didn't have anybody else. So it's been basically Forrest Farmer leading the way for us on Players of the Week. And actually, I realized I forgot to show off conference standings. So as you look through these conference standings, it's very tight race here in the MAC East. We take on some of these teams here with a chance to try to get ourselves ahead of them. But right now, us and Kent State are the only ones with a winning record. However, the conference records have been quite impressive for all these teams. Once again, Buffalo leads the way, followed by Bowling Green, Ohio, Akron, Kent State, and then Miami of Ohio is actually in last place, even though they're the best team in the MAC East. When you look out west, it's NIU leading the way. We could play them again. Toledo's in second place, tied with Western Michigan. And really, those are the only 3 competing for the top place in the West. And if you look at Northern Illinois, I really think that as long as they can go in there and beat Kent State, they've pretty much already got it locked up because they beat Toledo, and I think they already beat Western Michigan as well. They did. So they pretty much already have this conference side won, but we'll have to see. We take them on this week, and that can hurt them. And all it takes is an upset from one of these bottom feeders down here. I'd like to thank you for watching our update episode. Like I said, I wanted to get a few storylines rolled in, talk a little bit about the team, look at the future. And like I said, Coach Kent Williams is receiving some interest as some teams are looking to maybe make some changes. So this is LDJ11 Gaming. Thank you very much. Have a great day. I'm out.
And sometimes you just gotta believe there's something that'll give you relief. There's something that'll have what you need, what you need. We're broken, it's tragic, we're not all elastic, but maybe there's magic